I am going to read three very short stories. The first two are set in Ireland, so I'm going to do my best to resurrect what's left of my North Dublin accent.
Closer to the mic.
Yeah, get closer.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
All right, okay. Skirt. After Dad's burial, we hurried from Glasnevin graveyard and up to Arthur Conan Doyle's. There, we pushed down vegetable soup and chicken salad sandwiches. Ma, pale, frayed, let her food sit so long, a skin congealed on the soup, and the mayo bubbling between the bread yellowed. Next, drinks the colour of moon, mud, blood, and night sailed through the air and crowded our round table. A folded beer mat wedged underneath one of the table legs for steadiness. We'd hate to slosh a drop like. Mourners also delivered sad smiles and knowing nods, and then withdrew their long, well-dressed arms and retreated to various pockets of the pub. Throughout the afternoon, the chatter, laughter, and piped music rose. Mary, the oldest, said in America, there was no such drinking to distract from death. She was gone out of Dublin so long now, she didn't seem like one of us anymore. She had Dad's fish-silver eyes, though, and his pinched mouth, God rest him. Dervla, the second eldest, said, what about the undertaker being a woman and all? The skimpy skirt in her, Gary, the only son, said. She was disgrace, Mary said, made a mockery of the whole affair. Affair? Gary scoffed, pushing his hand through his piebald hair. It's a fucking funeral, like. The skirt barely covered her arse, Dervla said. Everyone gawping at her when they should have been remembering poor old Dan. A lovely arse, though, Gary said. We sucked down our drinks. The skirt was short, wasn't it? Ma said, her false teeth going at her lower lip goodo. The horse riding whip was a bit much too, Gary said. She never, Ma said, her lower dentures jutting out from between her lips. Her hand rushed to her mouth, corralling the teeth. The baby of the family, I elbowed Gary. Shut up, you. Don't mind him, Ma, he's only messing. Around us, the crush of people and conversations had the feel of an airplane at feeding time. Mary wiped her lipstick from the edge of her glass, still nursing her first string, while the rest of us were downing our fourth or fifth. I'm going to phone the undertakers in the morning and complain, she said. That's what's wrong with this country. No one's willing to speak up. Dervla looked at me, and together we rolled our eyes to the heavens. The ceiling's white paint remained yellowed from the more humane days when people could smoke inside a pub. His last few weeks, Dad had turned yellow, as if his malignant liver had leaked into his skin. Don't phone no one, Gary said, authority and an almost glee entering his voice, as if he'd only just realised he was now head of the family, technically. She was a looker, at least. Legs like a giraffe. A right ride. Dad would have loved that. Ma laughed, and we all joined in, giddy, bright-eyed. Through the window, we could see the creep of the dark. And again, in North Dublin. Out of the ashes. 13-year-old Esther was never exactly popular, no. But she was right out shunned after her granddad, while home alone in front of his TV, self-combusted. At first, everyone dripped, sorry. But then, the same neighbours and friends grilled Esther and her family, firing questions with the speed and blunt force of a semi-automatic. He must have been smoking. Maybe a spark from the fire. Never heard of a person just bursting into flames. Not to be vulgar, but is it true that there was nothing of him left? Nothing. It wouldn't, God help us, have been arson. At dinner, Esther's man sat opposite Esther's dad, imitating Mrs. Gleason. her nemesis from number 26. Esther's ma scrunched her face and rubbed her chin. Mrs. Gleason went at her sharp jaw lots, like she wanted to erase its jut. Then Esther's ma adopted Mrs. Gleason's taken-on accent. It wouldn't, God help us, have been arson. Esther's family of four laughed hard, a sound like donkey's brain. In social studies, Esther learned about the discovery of a 19th century town in Texas, found when a severe drought dried up Lake Buchanan. Esther fevered just thinking about the scorch needed to dry up a whole lake. Drowned by a flood and then resurrected by the sun, relics from the resurfaced town included tools, wagon wheels, gravestones, and a prehistoric skull. Esther asked what kind of skull, but Mrs. Walsh didn't know. Some of the girls shot Esther cranky, appalled looks, flashing wet incisors and grooves between their eyes. Teresa Parnell raised her hand. Why, Mrs., are Dublin kids learning about an old town in Texas when we've plenty of our own local tools? The class sniggered, and Teresa walked her well-worn path to the principal's office. Rumour had it boys' fingers also enjoyed a well-worn path up inside Teresa. But Esther didn't believe all she was told. Just last week, during jumping jacks at PE, Nicole Sheridan accused Esther's granddad of being a whore for the whiskey, and that's why he'd spontaneously combusted. Better yet was Noreen Cannon's claim that Esther's granddad had too much radiation from the cancer treatments, and that's what caused him to implode. The worst, though, was going on about the devil. It's fucking freaky, like, Teresa Parnell said at the top of her voice during lunch. Black magic, like. After Mass on Sunday, right outside the church entrance, Mrs. Gleason pushed her purple mug close to Esther's ma face. Why didn't anything around your father go on fire? God save him. Not his chair or the rug or anything. Esther's ma pressed her nose into the tip of Mrs. Gleason's. Leave a woman be, can't you? I'm an orphan now, an orphan. As Esther's dad drove home from St. Peter's, Esther's ma repeated, I'm an orphan now. The family laughed like the possessed. Then, as if in response to some unseen signal, the foursome sobered and opened the car windows. The others, like Esther, must have felt the sun's bake. I'm going to switch gears now, and I'm going to read a very, very short piece. And I'd like to dedicate this on the drive over, just as we came off the ramp from San Francisco into Oakland. There was a girl on the side of the road who looked absolutely wretched, and she held up a sign and she said, I need a miracle. So I hope she gets her miracle, and I hope she gets to rewrite her story. So this is Rape Revised. I overhear a man on Union inform his friend, an insomniac like me, that the reason he can't sleep nights is because he doesn't feel safe. You see sleep as dangerous, he says, and you think you always have to be the sentry protecting your king. You won't trust anyone else to do that job for you. You gotta learn to trust again, man. Days later, the stranger's words are still enamped inside my head, zigzagging. Nights, I tell myself, I don't have to protect my king. I'm safe, I repeat, and nothing bad is going to happen if I let go of a wake. Not at home, and not with the doors locked and the alarm armed. I wonder what keeps the stranger's friend awake and recall his crew cut and the rifle taps. Maybe he fought in the war. Which war, I think, and hate that there's so many to choose from. How many of us are awake right now, the world over, listening, and hurrying up morning? I roll over on my mattress and I'm again facing my locked bedroom door, and go back in my head to that night with stars like fires. I write a letter to myself, telling myself not to take the M train, not to wear the red dress, not to walk through the park like a forest, not to hum with happy beer breath, not to be polite when I should have started running, not to have given in so easily to the stab of his cock. I rip up my invisible letter, tear after tear after tear, and mash the words with my teeth and swallow hard. Then I start another letter, this one to the criminal, sending him further and further back in time, telling him not to.